I want to go to Evan Perez, who's standing by. How might the evidence presented today influence the investigation by the Justice Department?
Well, Anderson, every single one of these hearings has helped the Justice Department make the case, certainly, that they need to get some of the same testimony that this committee has been able to get. And, you know, playing out right across the way from the Capitol at the U.S. Courthouse is a fight that's been going on over privilege, where the former president has been arguing that some of his closest aides, some of his top people in the administration, aren't allowed to provide testimony to the Justice Department's investigation, which is looking at not just January 6, obviously, the effort also to impede the transfer of power. Today, just today, we saw Mark Short, who was a former aide to the Vice President Pence, Kash Patel, a former national security aide to the former president. You see them right there, exiting the federal courthouse. Anderson, at the courthouse has been this fight going on where, in secret, where the former president has been arguing that they're covered by executive privilege, by attorney-client privilege, that they're not allowed to provide testimony to this investigation. The Justice Department has been arguing that they are, and the fact that they provided some of this testimony to the committee is helping that case. So today, obviously, we asked Mark Short what this was about. They wouldn't answer the question. But you can bet, Anderson, that this is an important fight. This is an important thing that's really going to have consequences in the coming weeks and months as the Justice Department decides where the charges are coming from here.
Yeah, Evan Perez, thanks very much. Want to get more on what's ahead with former Nixon White House counsel John Dean, veteran journalist Carl Bernstein, and Atlantic staff writer Franklin Foer. So, Carl, I mean, obviously the Watergate saga took more than 2 years to unfold. It's been 21 months since the January 6th insurrection. What do you expect today? What questions still need to be answered?
The big question is, how wide and deep is the conspiracy to violate the most basic tenet of American democracy, free elections in this country? And there is an open and shut case that this committee has developed that Donald Trump impeded that most basic element of our democracy, that he stood at the head of a conspiracy to undermine free elections in this country, that we are going to see today, including a TikTok, that parts of it that the committee has developed, that on January 6th, the 1887 law that specifies you have to have the President of the United States elected on that day, beginning at 1 p.m. by the Congress, that law was impeded. Trump identified the weak spot in American democracy, which is you impede that meeting, you don't let it happen, and you have set the grounds for a revolution to impede the free election. And that's what happened. All those witnesses you saw come out of the courthouse and that Evan was talking about a moment ago, most of them, are the conspirators with the President of the United States.
Mark Short, by the way, is not.
I said
in that.
I said not all of them.
Just to be clear.
Not all of them.
He was the one we were showing. He just happened to be the one who got followed by the cameras. John Dean, we're no new witnesses today, from what we understand. No live witnesses, I should say. We may see some witnesses we haven't seen before on tape, Pompeo or others. We also expect to actually hear from all the members of the committee, which always makes me pause, because often what's been remarkable about this committee is how laser focused they've been. They've really only allowed 1 or 2 committee members to be the ones really asking the questions. I don't know if this is going to become like every other committee meeting where people just want to make sound bites and
I don't think so.
No.
I think what they're going to do is laser focus, if you will, on different areas to make sure they show the full picture. They've clearly got a theme with the clear and present danger that's very impactful. But as far as this effort to influence justice and the Department of Justice, I don't see that that's what they're doing. I think that justice goes down its own track. The Congressional Committee goes down its own track. It has a different aim. It has to impress the public that there's a problem here. We need laws. So these are really different situations.
Franklin Foer, you at The Atlantic, you recently profiled Attorney General Merrick Garland. How do you think he is using this committee, watching this committee, and moving forward?
Well, he watches these hearings. He said he was watching them in public, and he's very adamant that he goes home and he recaps them all the time. And so I do think he's paying attention, and that can't help but influence the way that he sees the bigger picture. But I think that John is correct that essentially his investigation is moving on a separate track. And I think it's very important to him in the way that he thinks about his job and his responsibilities, that in the end, he's not actually influenced by this. But I think there is a synergistic relationship between the congressional investigation, which has certain subpoena powers, they're able to puncture certain privileges that the Justice Department can't puncture, which is why they're so keen to get hold of these transcripts. And then the Justice Department has its own subpoena powers. And so what's striking to me is how after this thorough investigation, where we have this abundance of evidence, technology permits us to see everything. We have all these text messages, yet there's still these other technologies that are encrypted, and the ability to hide is still there. And so at the end of the day, we're still left with dots that haven't really been fully committed, even though the most overt and obvious parts of the crime are just screamingly obvious and will be hammered home today.